director of animated films. I'm a painter, I'm an illustrator, I compose music for my own films, and I am a storyboard artist. I'm currently directing and production designing the second season of Undone.
I'm so bored of living. I wake up every morning in the same bed, I get dressed, and I eat the same breakfast and then take the same commute to work. I'm 28 years old and I'm terrified this is all there is.
I got started in the business by just doing it. I mean, I was on the art academy and I was becoming a painter, and I could choose an extra course, and that turned out to be animation. And once you start animating, it's a fucking trap, because it takes so much time that you don't have time for anything else anymore. That's how I became an animator. But luckily, I always used my oil painting techniques to paint the backgrounds for my films. So I could always work in all the disciplines that I like and that I'm interested in. Working from my living room to directing 200 people took 25 years. And so there were a lot of ups and downs in between, where I actually wanted to stop doing animation because it's so laborious, so hard to make money. And then, you know, they trapped me again, and I came back, and here I am. And I'm not even a big animation fan, to be honest. I hardly ever watch animated films. When I watch animated films, it's artistic shorts for adults, or the old Disney films, you know, but I'm not that much into all the series. I just don't care. And I think with Undone, which uses live action as a basis for the animation, I sort of found the perfect form for me, where I can sort of direct, you know, a real set with actors, and also create this animated artificial world, you know, which looks painted and dreamy. So I got sort of where I wanted to be unconsciously. I never thought that I would do this. I never wanted to be like animating for Disney or anything. It was never my purpose. My purpose has always been to make art. That's the only thing that interests me. I want to make art. I don't mean it in a pretentious way, but it's just, that's what I want to do with my life. Make beautiful things that stick with people, that have some meaning. And the thing that interested me in animation was that because it's so dreamlike and different from reality, I use it as a vehicle to show the inner world of a character. I mean, especially in Undone, but also in Junkyard and in 17, there's always this question like, is this really happening or is it not happening? Which is I think that sort of gives us an insight into the head of the character. If you would do it with real actors, then it would be obvious, because, you know, you would know that there were special effects, that things are changing and things that are not possible in reality, things that are not possible in reality. So it would sort of be very obvious that it's not real. In animation, everything that's happening Undone is as real. So if somebody's just eating food, it looks just as real or unreal as when it's very dreamlike and very strange things happen. I developed my own art style not by, I didn't aim for an art style, but I just, like every artist, sort of, I mean, we're like sponges, you know, I'm like a cultural omnivore. I like lots of things, from classical music to pop music to comedy to, you know, it doesn't matter as long as it touches me or makes me laugh or cry, or if I think it's beautiful, I watch it or listen to it and I absorb it, and that sort of what then comes out is my style. But I think what happened was that I was very interested in the painting style of the Baroque painters of the 17th century, so the Dutch painters in the Golden Century and the Spanish and the Italian painters, and I just wanted to paint in that style, sort of. But I also realized that it doesn't make sense to do it nowadays because we have photography, etc. But I still was able to use those techniques and that very warm, you know, oil paint style, and use it for my films. So that was sort of, you can call it accidental, but what I miss in modern animation coming from Hollywood and from all over the world is that it's done with computers. I'm not against computers, we use computers too, but it's very sterile. I think most animated films for children look like it's plastic, like it's not, I don't feel a soul anymore. And I think what I like about all Disney films like Bambi especially, is that you could feel that every frame of that film is beautiful. It's made by artists. It's done with a lot of love, you can feel that. It's actually, if I bring the whole answer down to two things, it's Bambi and 17th century painters. Put it together, and then some put in a lot of drugs and alcohol, and then you get my style. Streaming services can take more risks with things like that, and a number of series for adults like BoJack Horseman, which is from Raphael Waksberg, who's the showrunner of BoJack Horseman, who's also the showrunner together with Kate Purdy of Undone, the show that I'm directing. But I think series like BoJack Horseman found their audience. It just took longer. And, the first season was done by Netflix, was not that popular. And then, but they got the time to develop it and to develop a worldwide audience. Because the thing is, Amazon Prime, that broadcasts Undone, for instance, they have an audience of 140 million paying subscribers. So the audience is huge. So even if it's a niche for adult animation, it's still millions and millions and millions of people that can watch it. So the streaming services, I think, change the landscape. They take more risks. They don't have to get their money back in the opening weekend. They can develop things, and they don't have to make profit right away. So they take more risks, and I'm very lucky to profit from that. I do believe, though, that there's still many more possibilities in animation. Like in feature films, it's much harder to come up with something completely new. I think in animation, there's still, how do you say it, grounds to break. There's still a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of things that have never been done in animation. So that creates there's still a whole world open of stuff that hasn't been done in animation. And I think as long as there are people who believe in it and who can finance it, which is always the hard part, then a lot of good stuff can happen. I only can tell that Corona makes my job in a way much harder because I'm a very social person. I like to be amongst all the people I work with. And now, because of Corona, most people are working from home, and the whole world became a little bit colder. But it forced us to come up with even more efficiency. So in a way, I have more control than with season one, but I enjoy it much less. The funny thing about, not funny, but I mean the pandemic has a huge influence on the live, feature films, whole, cinema complexes go bankrupt. A film like Tenet is sort of flopping because there's not enough people go to the cinema. So Hollywood is in big trouble right now, and a lot of filmmakers are in trouble. In animation it's different because animators can work from home. So I think the animation industry is, I call it industry because it is, most of it is an industry. They are much less influenced by Corona than live action or musicians. For musicians, it's horror what's happening right now. I think a lot of animation projects just went on, and Undone is another example. For us, it's harder because we have to film the actors, and that whole part is much more different for all kinds of reasons. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but the rest of the process is doable. Well, I think that animation and live action already blended because most of the superhero films are mostly animated. And there's some actors in it who work in front of green screens, and the rest is being animated by 3D animators, but it all has to look very realistic. And I think Undone the series that we made here at Submarine, is a blend of live action and animation. And we use the best parts of each genre. So we use the acting and all the micro expressions and the great dialogues and from live action, and we use all the tools that we have from animation, like the strange transitions and the dreamy atmosphere of painterly worlds, which is something you can't do in live action. But there might be a moment that people understand that they're already in the Matrix. They're in an animated world. They're not even alive. I'm interested in genres. I think Undone is, I think Raphael and Kate called it not gender bending, but genre bending, which is true. There's a lot of genres. There's science fiction, there's like murder mystery, there's psychological horror, it's very psychedelic, there's a lot of genres in it. And I feel very happy with that because I do like, I have a very broad interest in genres. I think 8 years ago I wanted to make a science fiction film, like the kind of science fiction, like more philosophical science fiction from writers like Stanislav Lem that are really exploring the human mind and the limits to our understanding. I think that's interesting. And otherwise, you know, I've been asked to do horror and I've been asked to do other kinds of genres that right now I'm not interested in. Also, I think that if I want to do animation, a lot of genres don't really, animation doesn't fit some genres. For instance, horror, because animation is artificial by default, it's much harder to get that suspension of disbelief because people already find out that it's artificial. And in horror, I think works when you create this realistic atmosphere and then something horrible happens that feels very threatening. Well, when I was on the set in Los Angeles and Hollywood with very good actors, there was one moment where I thought, well, maybe the next step for me would be to direct a feature film. And in a way, it would be great. On the other hand, I also like the fact that I'm not 100% in control. I mean, there's many very good artists working on Undone. It is still like creating a world out of nothing. And with live action, it's different. And I know there has been directors who started out as animators like Terry Gilliam, Tim Burton, and then developed themselves as live action directors. The thing is, it's very stressful on a set. So that's the thing that I don't like about live action, is there's a lot of pressure. I don't know who said it, maybe it was Kubrick or somebody else who said like, directing a film is like trying to make a painting while you're in a roller coaster. Like, whoa, that's what it is. It's like there's so much pressure, so much happening at the same time. And that kind of thing, that kind of stress is not something I really enjoy. So I think it used to be a dream of me to make a live action film. Right now I think Undone is the perfect vehicle for what I like to do.